Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm here with, of course, my trusty co host, Eli Weintraub.
Good
It's
morning.
August 10th, 2024. So, like we say every week, summer's rapidly coming to a close. But it's also my brother Thomas's birthday today. So, I give him a little happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday. Absolutely.
And yeah, so Eli, we got some stuff to talk about, but of course we start off with the monologue, which is weekly sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. And yeah, let's jump in, Eli. So from a monologue perspective, I think we're going to have a lot of Olympic kind of discussions and so forth, right? But
Right.
I think today is the gold medal game for the U.S. men's basketball team as well as the women's soccer. Um, but a little bit of controversy about what's going on with Steve Kerr and Jason Tatum not really getting a lot of playing time, and I don't know what that's all about. I mean, my initial, my feelings that I would prefer it to be an amateur sport and give the college kids an opportunity to play, but unfortunately, that's not how it is today. So you have this super team with James and Curry and all the Kevin Durant's and so forth. But yet there's Jason Tatum just coming off his um, outstanding performance in the NBA playoffs, winning a title with the Boston Celtics. So a little bit of controversy there. I don't know if there's been tension between Steve Kerr and Jason Tatum, but you got this matchup today, and I think what's interesting about the matchup is it's against France, and as you and I have spoken about, a lot of like
NBA
four out of
players.
the top 10 number one draft picks were from France, so you get a good showcase with. Um, Victor Wembanyama playing for France, so that should be, this kid's a rising star, as we know. He's going to be, the face of the NBA for many years to come. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. Um, but I don't see any way that the U.S. men's team doesn't win this game. I mean, they're just that depth. This is quote unquote a super team. So, what's your take on the
Well,
way that
to
was developed?
to me, entering this game, this is the definition of the NBA All-Star game, but three times better. Because now you have stars from the NBA playing on both sides, and both France and on the US side, and they're both passionate and they're both strong players and they're strong teams. The US number one has been phenomenal all season long in the Olympics and even prior the few games that they had prior to their Olympic run. So when you look at these upcoming matches, upcoming matchup today, you're basically seeing an NBA All-Star game, but a lot better and two really good teams. Now USA has been playing absolutely strong, but can they hold it on? I believe they can do it. However, I would not be surprised if they do start to slack off. We noticed in the last game that they were down at halftime and then end up winning the game. Then this seems to be the trend for the United States. Will this
Right.
continue on in today's game? We don't know, but I would not be surprised it happens again. It's 3 o'clock our time for the women's soccer game. That is happening at 11 o'clock today. I believe that'll be over on NBC for those who are going to watch that game. Again, you have a lot of great matches, and really, some of the star players that you know and love out there in the game are now playing in a big level, and they're competing for the gold. This is going to be top notch quality sports within those 2 hours today.
Huh? And that's what the Olympics has come to be known as, right? The competing against it. We got a lot of different things we could touch on, like Spain beats France for the soccer gold for the men, and
You have a comment for
we
Frankie.
got yeah, we got a comment. Yeah, I know how he feels. A lot of people feeling the same way, Frankie, about whether or not Kerr has this grudge against him. So that's going to be a big story. But what time is the game
It'll
tip
be
off? You
3 o'clock our time for the 3:30 for our time for the basketball and 11 a.m. for the soccer. They're both on NBC.
said? Okay. And as we were saying, Spain beat France for the men's soccer
Yes.
team, and that's really not much of a surprise.
No, it ain't. It really isn't. I mean,
And
they're
then
dominant.
when we look at certain things, and again, it's just very difficult to follow because there are so many more sports events now than there were certainly when I was your age,
Yeah.
going back. But you see, guys like in golf. So what a year for Scotty Scheffler. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy just wins the gold, and
Yeah.
you
Every
know,
time.
it's really amazing that the year he's had, and he goes over, and you know, this means something to even professional athletes, something representing the United
Absolutely.
States. You know, so that was good, and how about this too? We had that dream matchup we were hoping for in tennis, right? Novak Djokovic beats Carlos Alcaraz for his gold medal,
It's pretty.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of a crowning moment for him. I mean, what else does he have to prove in the world of tennis? But he was lacking a gold medal in tennis. He wins that, so I mean, this guy's
And
a
you
he's a
also had
machine.
a world record in the women's 4 times 100 meter race. Fastest time with 3:49.63 was the time. It was a world record on the women's side for the US. It was pretty amazing to see.
Yeah, I know, and I think Shakari Richardson, right, was
Yeah.
probably the focal point of that team, and yeah, they pulled it off.
They pulled it off real well.
Yeah. So also, how about this Noah Lyles thing where you and I were just talking before we
Yes.
came on the air? He wins by 0.005. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't get any closer than
It
that.
was
And
it was fun to see the references online because they were showing if you remember the movie Cars, the Pixar movie, and I believe it was Cars 2 with Lightning McQueen by the tongue, he wins the race. They were showing that all over and comparing it. How it was like that little tongue moment on how he won the race. Like it was pretty incredible to see.
yeah, no, that was did we expect him to win? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess he would have been considered the favorite, but and you even mentioned before that he
Now
actually
tested
came
positive
down
for
with
COVID.
COVID,
So now
right?
he's unable to participate in yesterday's events or today. So that kind of eliminates him. So that's
Yeah,
a tough loss for him, considering that a pretty impressive win just last week.
yeah. And there's some of the usual things that we thought we would see, right? The women's gymnastics team dominated again, Simone Biles and
Yeah.
and her team. You know, when you see things like that, the absolute domination of somebody, but it wasn't just her. She had her teammates there that also
Right.
performed, and we mentioned, Hesley Rivera from last week.
Right.
Some Jersey folks, and um, that was great to see. And how about this? How about this Katie Ledecky? I mean, she
Oh
is
yeah.
just,
She
I
absolutely dominated last week. Good for her that she won the gold. I mean, there's
yeah.
not much more to say. It was pretty impressive.
I mean, you're talking about this is her fourth Olympics, and she's just as dominating today. So
As ever
we
before.
we keep seeing records get broken in swimming, and I mean,
Everywhere.
imagine these 1,500-meter races doing a butterfly, or that's some tough
It's
stuff.
it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard.
These are
I
the
mean, you really got to train hard to win.
And they do. I mean, there's no question about it. But just pure dominance. I mean, she's going to go down obviously as a legendary U.S. Olympian in the same vein as Mark Spitz and Michael Phelps and those. It just it really was a performance for the whole world to see. But everybody knew about her. But when you get to your fourth Olympics, can you maintain that high level? And she proved that she could.
And what about the other sport that was happening? Breaking, the new breakdance that they've been adding. Apparently, that's been controversial, but seems pretty interesting and fun, like to some people.
Yeah, and listen, there's no question that is certainly impossible for most people to do. But
Absolutely, I can't
you
do
know,
it.
but we see these street performers, that can do this kind of thing, and now it's an Olympic sport, and You know what? One thing, Eli, that I actually, one of our loyal listeners, Diego, called me. He goes, "You got to watch this," and I actually watched the gold medal match between China and Sweden in ping pong, and this was just incredible. I mean,
It's a
these
lot of
guys are
fun to
running
watch.
all over the place.
I mean, ping pong is a very difficult sport, believe it or not. I mean, it's not just a paddle back and forth. It's not like the fun game at the boardwalk. No, no, no. It's
No,
a whole
no.
new world, a new competition when you play that game.
But I actually enjoyed it, and I go, yeah. I mean, these guys are sweating, like
Yeah,
crazy because they're running around, and it seems like the table's only what, like
yeah,
4
like I
feet
know,
each
like
side.
that your average size folding table, whatever it is. I mean,
But
really,
that
I
was
mean.
that was some good stuff.
And
So
here's
what's
the
the?
medal count. We'll take a look at the medal count real quick. United States
Yeah.
has 113 medals, 33 gold, 41 silver, 39 bronze in first place. The most gold, however, is China with 35. They're in second place with 85 total medals. And third place right now with 15 gold, 20 silver, bronze, 22.
Mhm.
57 total medals is France. So USA, China, France are your dominating teams right now. But United States will more than likely hold up on top, considering
Uh-huh.
how far they are in the hundreds range medals.
Right. Wow. So I mean, that's pretty impressive from a total count, right?
Yeah, it
Obviously,
really is.
gold is what everyone strives for, and that could change, right? The U.S. could still win the gold medal in um,
And anything right now. It's still the
yeah,
U.S.
and then
soccer, the basketball, and there's still more events happening throughout the day. And of course, today's the last official day of Olympics before tomorrow the closing ceremony takes place over at NBC at 3 o'clock.
right, um, yeah. So let's talk a couple of like one of the events, speed climbing. That was
Never.
new to me.
There's a lot of new in this year's Olympics, and it's like odd. And especially this whole all the stuff that's taking place in the river. I mean, it's disgusting, and they're still and like yeah, everything that's coming out of it's like, come on,
Yeah.
really?
How did that all of a sudden, that river become one of the most polluted rivers in
I thought
Europe?
the Hudson River was bad. I mean, it looks like that looks
Exactly.
safe now. I mean,
Well,
it's horrible to say, but that looks safe now. Is that sad to say?
yeah. But listen, overall, I mean, it seems like um, the world was captured by the Olympics again,
Yeah,
right? And the focus was there, and I mean, the time delay was always something to be,
that was
you
always
know,
an issue. But yeah,
right. So,
and
you
one thing
know,
I was surprised about, and I just look back through history, I'm surprised New York, New Jersey never hosted an Olympics, considering like their history and everything, how much we have around here, stadium wise and stuff. Hotels and everything. I know it's a lot that goes into it, but just thinking about it, like just surprised that our area hasn't had one.
yeah. And so where are the next Summer Olympics?
Next year, the 2020 would be in Los Angeles.
Oh, Los Angeles. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
but
but
one other one that I thought, and again, certain, like when you're racing and the track and field guys, right? The 100 meters, it's man against man, and the playing field is leveled. When you have something like surfing, right? I mean, that's kind of dependent on if
the
you get
waves,
a good wave or not, or this.
it's a
So
50-50 shot basically. You have.
yeah, so that one's, those kind of events. I appreciate the competitiveness of like the swimmers. It's just 8 lanes, and they're
Well, yeah, but I
all in the
think for the
same pool.
surfing though, it all depends on the year. I think they need to go to the place where it has the most waves possible that you can get in a time, and just keep that there no matter where the location the Olympics are. For example,
Yeah,
let's just say if Hawaii was the example that had the most waves, we're just using it as an example. Keep the surfing section only in Hawaii, even though the Olympics are in, let's just say Shanghai as an example.
right.
Just an example.
Yeah, I mean,
If that's
actually,
if that's what it's going to come down to, I mean, that's what they should be doing. I mean, if
well, I mean, let's just look at it. The surfing competitions being held in Tahiti.
Tahiti, which is France owned, but that's all the way on the opposite side of where Paris is.
Exactly. So anyway, so overall, like, how would you rate the Olympics and the coverage that NBC
The
did.
coverage has been good. I just don't like the whole streaming stuff that you have to pay to watch the Olympics. Before you used to be able to watch everything on cable. Now with Peacock, you got to, pay for the
Yeah,
Peacock service on top of cable, and it's a lot more events. It wasn't, I don't know. And I'm just glad it's over because it just, I'm back to regular programming. I mean,
yep,
it's fun while it lasted, but not for so many, times. I mean, I don't know.
I got you.
I'm glad it's over to me.
All right. Well, I think, like I said, overall success, and let's see. We'll update,
Everybody
discuss
next week
next week. We'll kind of do a wrap up and see where we
where
stand
we
and with the
stand.
final medal count. And, um,
Absolutely.
but guess what's underway right now, Eli? The
NFL
National
football.
Football League. Right?
And we saw some pretty good games into Thursday and Friday. And what we were talking about on my show yesterday, the 12th Show podcast, what I do with Jack, another show I do, we were saying how there's a lot more scoring happening in this preseason. And I think that all starts with who's playing. And I think also the kickoff rule has a factor into that. I mean, look at the final scores. If you exclude Thursday's Giants, Patriots, Lions, Panthers games, Dolphins Falcons ended 2013, Eagles Ravens 16-13, and Texans Steelers 2012. Those are yesterday's games. Those are pretty high scoring games. The Hall of Fame game, for example, 20-12, 21-17 was the final in the third quarter. If it wasn't for the rain, that could have been a lot higher than expected. And I think that all has to do with the kickoff rule. I mean, in making these scores a lot higher than usual. I mean, we talked about the kickoff rule and our thoughts on it, but I think that's now
Yeah.
impacting the scoring summary at the end of the day.
Hmm. I got to be honest. I mean, I've read about the context of the kickoff rule, but I just haven't seen it because I'm not a big preseason guy.
Absolutely.
I don't like to watch preseason football games, but because it's more about who's going to make the team, right?
Right.
You're not going to see
It's
the
not fun in
starters,
games. No, it's
right?
this is the rough 3 weeks for all NFL players. For the fans, it's
Yeah.
just, oh well. But for everybody else, it's really a big deal. But in terms of the kickoff rule, we discussed a little bit last week about it. We've seen a lot more games happen this week within 5, and we'll have about 9 games today, 2 tomorrow, some on
Mhm.
NFL Network. I honestly can't remember the rules to the top of my head. I mean, it's going to take me a couple weeks, but I can't tell you like how the basic rule was last year, where if it's a touchback, it's 25-yard line. Here, is it the 30? Is it the 40? Where does the ball land? It's a complicated story and situation. And you also have to keep in mind that you always have to wait for the ball to either be in the receiver's hand or drop before you can actually move. So that's a little bit of
Yeah.
like a, you got to remember
Right.
that type of situation. And
Yeah.
I could see a lot more injuries. And again, the scoring's been up. So I think that is something that we, the NFL fans, have to watch out for because we're seeing a lot more scoring happening. So now we got to say, okay, well, do we have to pick higher scores to win the games now? Because now it's always going to be returned and it's going to be returned far. It's not going to be the 25-yard line 30. It's going to be a lot further than that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a rule change that has the potential to alter the outcome of a football game. And again, this is also, Eli, this is going to be the first time we have the hip tackles can't
Right.
happen anymore. So there's rule changes that keep,
Everywhere.
and I know the intent, and is to prevent as many injuries as we can. But when you see guys in helmets like this, that these guys used to wear,
Right.
I mean, them alone, just shows that it's a violent sport. We know that. And one
Right.
interesting thing, there was a guy on who was it, like Pittsburgh? A guy named James Daniels wore what they call those guardian caps over his helmet.
Okay.
If people are concerned about um, concussions to the way they are, even though it finds this helmet I was just holding up compared to what a helmet is today, it's just technology so far advanced.
Right.
But yet people still getting these concussions at record numbers. And I think we're going to see more and more people because I think the league is giving them the option to wear that extra protection on the helmet.
And speaking of technology, on outside of the helmet, you have the new AI technology that is used to determine the first down markers in the preseason that the NFL is testing out. So far, we saw it in the Giants game. It worked out for the most part, but I think to
Mhm.
me, it should be not on a screen that judges where the ball is marked. It should be the guys with the chains to run out there and to determine that. I know a lot of people are saying technology, especially for that matter. But in football, it needs to be so precise that you need a visual on the field. It can't be just by a robotic technology to determine first downs or not. That's one thing I had. I know some people, one of the announcers, I believe, for Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, was complaining about it on their broadcast, or Ravens, I think it was. Uh, they were
Wow.
complaining why are the stick eyes still there? Why isn't technology there? We have all kinds of technology. Why is technology not fully there yet for the chain marks? So I don't know. That's something
Huh.
that we have to notice.
I wasn't even actually aware of that, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it was actually. They said they were going to try to test out the AI technology for the first downs in the preseason games. You saw it a little bit with the Giants game, but stick to the chains. My message. I know technology is great, but that's something that you need to stick to the hand person chain situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're just seeing the game being altered by, people that don't play the game, and they think, okay, you can't dismiss safety, but football is not, it's a very violent game. It's
Yes.
always has been. And so we're changing the rules, and I don't know that we can compare excuse me, a game today to a game 30 years ago. So we're
Absolutely.
going to see how much this does impact and change the outcome of the game. And
Yeah.
with betting now is just like almost a focal point of
Of
sports.
sports.
How is that going to be affected? That's some interesting stuff.
Absolutely, indeed. And before I get to some new stuff, we obviously have some couple games today, 9 of them to be exact. Commanders Jets are opening you up at 12 o'clock. If you're in the New York, New Jersey area, CBS 2 New York is where you can catch that game.
Mhm.
Bears Bills are at NFL Network at 1 o'clock. Raiders Vikings 4 o'clock NFL Network. Packers Browns 4:25. Buccaneers Bengals 7. 49ers Titans at 7. Chiefs Jaguars 7 p.m. on NFL Network. Seahawks Chargers at 7:05 and Saints Cardinals at 8. Tomorrow you got 2 games on NFL Network with Broncos Colts at 1 o'clock and Cowboys Rams at 4:30. So that's what you got
Mm.
for game wise today. To the latest NFL news, I'll go real quick. We'll start off with the Panthers following their game with the Patriots, returning home from Charlotte. Their plane landed inside the mud after sliding off the taxiway. No injuries were
Yeah.
reported, but an evacuation was occurred. Will this begin their bad luck for this upcoming season for the Panthers? We will only
Yeah,
find
I
out
got it.
soon.
Right.
Yeah, I had to throw that in there. Super Bowl winning quarterback Nick Foles announces his retirement from the league, becoming the only other quarterback besides Eli Manning to say the words, I beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl 52 to be exact.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Chiefs
yeah.
extend. Go ahead.
And what about
I was going to go through the
what's
rest. Yeah. I was going to
yeah,
do
go
something
ahead.
about the Nick Foles. Okay. Chiefs extend Harrison Butker's contract to a 4-year, $25.6 million deal. Now becomes the highest paid kicker. I think it's well deserved. I have no
Mhm.
issues. Titans signed safety Quandre Diggs to a 1-year deal. Seahawks signed center Connor Williams. The Lions and Giants have both been fined more than $200,000 after multiple fights during their joint practices at training camp. That was prior to the first preseason game for the two of them. Jets
Mhm.
radio announcer Marty Lyons leaves the booth ahead of this upcoming season, per some sources. And the Patriots are releasing wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. And Giants quarterback Drew Lock is dealing with a bad bone contusion and strain oblique. Could be miss a few games, but no surgery is required. So that is
Yeah.
some
And
stuff we
and
have to
this
watch out
goes
from
this
the Giants.
this is exactly the reason why the preseason is nothing more than an audition for things, because
It really is.
they don't play starters because of the risk of injury and in basically a meaningless game. And oh, Eli, what's the latest on this Brandon Ayuk? I mean,
We were
I don't know. I mean, do you consider him a top three wide receiver in the
absolutely,
game?
absolutely, Absolutely,
Yeah.
I do. I mean, look what he
Okay.
did in the Super Bowl. Look what he did for the 49ers. I think it's too late in the game for him to get traded out somewhere else. For me, looking at how late it is in the game, he is going to end up staying with San Francisco at least for a year. And I think it's going to work out for him. I don't think he is going to leave yet. He's not one of those guys like Saquon Barkley or someone else where I could say, all right, maybe, you can get rid of him. I know it's late, but you can get rid of him. That's not one of those situations. To me, this is a guy where he needs to stay in San Francisco. He is their heart and soul. They have the weapons in San Francisco, and Brandon Ayuk was definitely a star in that team last year, especially in the Super Bowl run, despite losing to the Kansas City Chiefs with a couple seconds left of overtime.
Mm. Yeah, I just wonder, like I said, I don't know if I put him in that elite category. I mean, they have when you look at, and we talked about this that documentary on wide receivers. You still have Devontae Adams, and you have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Debo Samuel
Right.
and Amon Ross St.
But
Brown and
so I get he's not in the top five, top three. So then who are the top three then? That into your book that you would say is, better than Ayuk right now. Like that would
Justin Jefferson,
okay.
Devontae Adams, and I guess Jamar Chase would have to be the other one. I mean, I
Yeah.
would take all those
I mean, they're
guys.
fair points, absolutely. No question. But I mean, to me, Brandon Ayuk is definitely one of the top five out there, considering his run that he had with San Francisco just last year. I think, he is a San Francisco 49er. He needs to stay there. He is their heart and soul, and he can definitely prove that he is definitely one of the top wide receivers out there.
Yeah. Well, listen, we the preseason and again, like in Pittsburgh, right? We have the Wilson versus Justin
It's going to be
Fields, and
Fields. It's
who's gonna
Fields.
emerge.
It's going to be Fields. That's my pick.
I'm not so sure. I'm thinking it may be Russell Wilson, to be
You
honest.
really think so? But how long, though?
Well,
Because look what he
either
did with
one,
Denver.
right? But either one of them is going to be on a short leash. So
That's
if
true,
one's
too.
not performing, we're going to see, quarterback
An
by
easy spot.
committee, probably that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Michael Penix Jr. made his preseason debut, and it didn't
Yes.
go
And he,
all that well. But
no.
again, that's not a barometer of whether this kid has potential. We all know he has potential. He's going to be the future when Kirk Cousins does retire and that kind of thing. But these guys, aside from um, C.J. Stroud last year, rookie quarterbacks don't generally, you know, perform at a level that we expect them
Right.
to be.
I mean,
So,
CJ Stroud was an exception. Everybody else now, you got to really step up to the CJ Stroud level if that's what you want to
right,
be here in this league. I mean,
absolutely.
that's the new set bar.
Hmm.
And I don't see it anything
Absolutely.
happening anytime soon with these guys. I hate to say it, but there's no match to what CJ Stroud put on the table last year.
Well, and again, was it a fluke? We've seen guys in the past that have had incredible seasons, and then that was it. Like reference guys like Matt Castle or something like that, and then he gets
I
these
think
big
CJ
deals.
Stroud is something else, though. That's
Yeah,
to me. I mean, even if he has a not so great year this year, he's still going to be able to bounce back, no issue. I mean, he's
right.
just that type of person. I mean, I don't see it, failing at
Yeah.
all. I mean, he will fail, but not to the top notch level like where we saw Bryce Young last year with the Panthers.
Yeah, and I kind of listen. I've always liked Bryce Young. I think he's a very classy individual, and he's a national championship winning quarterback. But this is going to be if he has the kind of year that he had last year, then it's just going to be one of those guys that just couldn't pull the transition from college football to the National Football League.
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Eli, let's move on. So
MLB.
Major League Baseball, right?
Yeah.
You and I
Same
were just
story, I
talking.
think. I think we
Huh?
could say same story. The Orioles and the Yankees did the top two nominees. They're both neck and neck at this point.
Yeah.
The Mets are the Mets, and we're still a couple week games away before playoffs start. Not a couple, but we're almost there.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at some of the numbers, I had a conversation with somebody. Actually, one of our loyal listeners, Derek, and we were talking about Bobby Witt Jr. in Kansas City, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
he's probably going to win the batting title, and they kind of got him on the cheap. I mean, they didn't realize how great he was going to become, but he's one of the best players in the game, and they already have him locked up for 11 years. So, but we've seen this on the other side of the house, right? We saw Tampa Bay did this with Wander Franco and so forth, and now he's not going to probably ever see a major league field again, depending
No.
on some of these legal problems that he has. So, the money and when we talk about who's going to get what, right? You have guys like Pete Alonso, right? Or is he Aaron Judge
No.
worthy
No.
money? No,
Absolutely
no
not.
way,
No.
right?
Absolutely not.
No,
Nope. Nope. Not
nope.
even close to a mile. Not even. Nope.
And he's actually showing that because he's having kind of a mediocre year, and
We
that's not
expected
going to
better.
get him. Right. And who obviously the prime number one free agent to be is Juan Soto.
Right.
And,
He is a New
does
York
he want,
Yankee, and I think that's it. I don't think he's going to be leaving. I think he is a New York Yankee.
I certainly hope so, but look at the amount of money it's going to take to keep him and Judge in the same lineup.
That's true too.
Yeah, and the Mets will make 100% make him an offer. He does love New York, but does he love New York with the Yankees and batting behind Aaron Judge, or does he go to a team, like the Mets that on paper they've been winning some games and they made, big strides
Some
in coming
adjustment.
back from a slow start, but it's the Mets. It's not the Yankees. So very, very interesting thing. But we got to cross those bridges when we get to it. Right now, Juan Soto is key to the success of the New York Yankees in the postseason. And if the Mets make it to the postseason, which still up in the air,
Right.
is Pete Alonso the guy that says I can carry this team on my back? Well, he's shown that he can't, like Aaron Judge can. So, and again, look at the year like this Shohei Ohtani, and I think he's having such an impressive offensive year, and I really think that the fact that he had shoulder surgery and he wasn't
Yeah.
pitching, that contributes to because pitching every fifth day
Something.
that takes a lot more out of you. So they're going to have to make that decision. Do we want him to be a two-way player and compromise some offensive numbers,
Or
or
you keep him
you
at
know,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's all going to come down to the postseason in reality.
yeah,
And I think because the Dodgers are definitely going to be one of those postseason teams. So it's going to come down to what can he perform in the postseason, and are we making the right decision? And that's what it's going to come down to. It's his performance, I think, in the postseason that will determine everything.
yeah, of course it will. Yeah, and so on the flip side of these teams that are winning games consistently, you have,
A new world
and you
record
know
for the
what?
White Sox.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going with this, because you and I actually talked about it, or I talked about it with several people early on in the season when I watched them play a series against the Yankees, and I said, "This is an absolute awful team,"
Oh
and
yeah,
they lost
their
20
manager,
guys.
they got rid of it. Pedro Grifol, as a
Yeah,
result.
yeah. So they didn't break the record, right? They did win one game, but they started a new losing streak. But
28-90 as a record is pretty scary.
oh my
Considering
goodness,
90, oh, 90,
that's
9-0.
yeah. No, I don't know
And
what.
we're August 10th. Come on, really? Like that everybody should have been fired by then, by now. Every single one.
Well, I mean, they kind of did clean house, do a fire sale, got rid of at least some of the guys that they had.
But
But
is it enough though? Is it the right choices? We'll
I
find
don't
out.
know. Yeah, we'll find out.
And now, what about this for Aaron Judge? He's gonna be starring in the new a new Paw Patrol episode, the Nickelodeon show, on August 26th. So, will that bring a curse to him? Will he be perform better in his TV show debut role, or will he continue to stay healthy and play baseball well? I mean, he's this is all pre-recorded already, but you just got to think to your head. Well, now he's starting on Paw Patrol. Does this bring a curse to him now after the show airs? Will he be doing good, bad, or what do we see out of this? I don't know. That's something we got to watch out for.
Yeah, and you got to look at when you look at Aaron Judge. I don't know um, whether or not they actually got games in because of the weather in the Northeast, but I think he's one home run away from 300 for his career already.
It's, I wouldn't be surprised if you're right,
Yeah,
and if he does hit it, congratulations to him, and we'll be talking about it for sure.
I know. Well, that means, I mean, again, he's no kid anymore, right? He's 30, 31 years old. So, but 300 is pretty impressive for a guy that, really came on the scene 4 or 5 years ago. And
Absolutely,
he's now the cornerstone of the Yankees franchise. So,
absolutely.
yep.
And I think it's
Okay,
time
Eli.
to get
So,
to random points.
Random Points, of course, sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And yeah, I know I have a couple. I'll just go through mine, Eli, and then I know you always have a bunch of them too. So,
Absolutely.
um, an interesting fact, and I didn't realize this because when we talk about sports athletes and some of the great baseball players, I always said that Lou Gehrig always kind of gets bypassed when you talk about the greatest
Right.
players, right? Maybe overshadowed by Babe Ruth. But not only was he a 340 lifetime hitter and drove in 175 runs a couple of seasons and had 493 home runs, he also stole home 15 times. And that's a big, big man. And so that just goes to show you his baseball intellect and how dominant a player he was. And it was really a shame that we lost him so young. But that I thought that was an interesting one. And here, how about this? And I mean this situation with Jim Harbaugh, and we know why he left Michigan because they're going to get hit with sanctions again. And Sharon Moore, who is now the new head coach, seems to be complicit in all this, the sign stealing and just almost flat out corruption of the Michigan football program. And Jim Harbaugh says, I don't have anything to do with this. I'm not here to apologize for anything. I didn't know anything was going on. And I find that impossible to believe when you're the head coach of a major university like that. You know everything that's going on. And it kind of caught me. I go scratching my head like,
Hold
you
on
know,
one second. So is that why he
yeah,
wanted to leave?
exactly. So, and Eli, you and I, when we reported a few months ago when the animals actually tore down the Jackie Robinson Stadium in Kansas, and they did finally catch that crumb that did it. And I think this week they actually unveiled the new statue of Jackie Robinson. But that was just like a horrible incident, and justice was actually served, and now they replaced it. So I think that's great for baseball. I mean, Jackie
At least they
Robinson
could
Day
have
in
done.
Major League Baseball is amazing, right?
At least they could have done.
Yeah. Just one other quick thing I wanted to
Yep.
bring up is I saw a piece on um, Anna Hall, and she was an Olympian for the U.S., and she actually competed in the heptathlon. And the heptathlon, if you didn't know, is like 7 different events. And, we haven't had a gold medal winner in the heptathlon since Jackie Joyner-Kersee in 1988 and 1992. So that, when we see this, you always hope for the the storybook ending. And in this case, it didn't work out, but that
No.
doesn't diminish where she came from, the effort she put in. So I wanted to kind of single her out
as
from the
well.
Olympics. Like I said, didn't win the medal, but you know what? She gave it her all, and she was, that's what the Olympics is all about.
All right. So I'll take it away.
Please do.
All right. We'll start off with this. WNBA games resume on Thursday with one game available on Prime Video. That is Phoenix versus Chicago, and ESPN New York versus LA at 9 o'clock. Friday games are available on ION, and Saturday games are available on CBS. The full schedule is available on ESPN.com or the WNBA official website. And this obviously, they paused games because of the Olympics, and now they're back to normal. So you'll have more sports to watch if you're interested. Jazz forward Lauri Markkanen has agreed on a 5-year, $230 million extension. True TV will be the exclusive television home for 5 Friday night Savannah Banana games starting August 16th. So if you like the Savannah Bananas or you have nothing else better to watch on a Friday night, you have the Savannah Bananas to watch on True TV.
I'm going to tell you something about this. This is a very innovative and creative marketing thing, and look at it's gotten to. I mean,
It
they
really
are they are must see TV. I mean, these guys.
It's like the Harlem Globetrotters. Have you ever seen the Harlem Globetrotters? It's the same thing, but the baseball version of it. Which, speaking of the Harlem Globetrotters, I'll be actually at a press conference, like a pregame before they actually make their TV appearance next Sunday at American Dream. They're going to actually play an American Dream, the Harlem Globetrotters. Some of the games, tickets are on sale on the American Dream website. They invited some of the kids from the sports broadcasting camp to come back to do like a media session prior to the game, and that'll be actually televised on the CW, which is Pix 11 for us here in the New York area. So yeah, if you're interested, check that out. Before I get to the other notes I have, we have Tony commenting, favorite podcasts. I have a great admiration to you all. So thanks for watching.
Oh, thank you very much, Tony. Tony, we haven't heard from Tony in quite a while. Great to have you back. I know she would have some opinions on the Brandon Ayuk situation since she's a diehard San Francisco 49er. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Other news we have Charles Barkley will remain with TNT and not another network. He will not be retiring. That's the bottom line. And will remain with TNT despite losing NBA rights as a possibility, which we obviously know will be coming true. Rumors believe that they will rebrand Inside the NBA to either an all sports show or different style programming. No word yet on what Shaq and Kenny's decisions will be. We do know Ernie Johnson is expected to stay. Another comment is from Tony. We will, yes, miss you guys for Jim.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
And the last comment is this weekend is D23 weekend, which is the ultimate Disney weekend convention, similar to Comic-Con. There are going to be some big announcements all week. Not only to their parks and entertainment, but as long as to their branches, ABC and ESPN. We already saw just this week that ESPN app has a new logo introduction that they announced this week. The recommendation is to basically continue to listen in for updates. There is no live stream dedication, but you can listen to and watch and hear updates for what's coming for the company, as well as the Disney Legends ceremony, where they honor, of course, Disney Legends. That's going to be on Disney Plus on August 12th. And I'm going to get to some of the movie stuff of what's that was announced last night in the movie segment in just a little bit. But to conclude off, we have another comment from Tony. 49ers are killing me. LOL.
No, you guys will be just fine, Tony. Don't worry.
That's it for now. We'll head into the movie pick, and I will get into some of those movies I was talking about when you
finish. So I have a funny one. It was kind of a comedy with Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss, and it was so funny because I picked this movie because I think it's funny as hell. It's really goes back to 1987. But then I was just scrolling around and answering some Facebook messages that I was getting, and boom, it pops up. It's called Stakeout. And it's just
Stakeout. Never seen it.
I know they did a sequel to it, which was absolutely deplorable with Rosie O'Donnell, but the original Stakeout is a very, very funny movie, and I highly recommend if you haven't seen it.
All right. Well, so by the way, this is Movie Pick and Photo segment is sponsored by Vital Selection. Don't forget to scan the QR code to learn more.
Yep.
So to my recommendations, obviously we talk about D23 just a little bit in my random points. So last night was the entertainment part announcements that came out. So they confirmed that there will be an Incredibles 3 in the works, a Lilo and Stitch live action coming in 2025. Toy Story 5, they released their first tease that is coming in 2026. Moana 2 is in theaters in November, and many more are on the way. Some shows that are happening to Disney Plus. ABC News Live is coming to Disney Plus, and the Disney Legend ceremony, which is taking place tomorrow, will be available on Monday, August 12th at around 5 p.m. on Disney Plus for you all to watch. Kelly Ripa from the Live with Kelly and Mark, she's being inducted as a Disney Legend as well. Some big names out there. So those are my recommendations. Check out those movies when they come available in 2025, 2026, and check out the Disney Legend ceremony on Disney Plus, and take a look for some live updates from the convention.
You are certainly the Disney authority on this show, that's for sure.
And comments that we have here from Eric. For Tony first, great movie recommendation for Jim. And Eric, good morning to all. Better late than never.
Well, Eric, he's been with us since day one, and he's never going anywhere. So thanks, Eric.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Here are the photos to look out for. We'll watch that courtesy of Jim.
Okay, so little background here. Like I said in the beginning, I'm doing the show live from Saratoga, which is, if you haven't been, it's only 3 hours from us in New Jersey, and these are my college buddies, and Jay's on the left and Bernie on the right, and unfortunately yesterday, I mean, we've been dealing with just terrible weather. I mean, the whole East Coast has just been
with the hurricane,
with the hurricane, and it didn't escape us up here. The track did not have any racing yesterday, which is very, very unusual, and it was kind of disappointing. But these are, and Eli, you're going to find these, that these are going to be your college buddies and for life. So
absolutely.
and this picture, so. In the neighborhood that I'm sitting at Jay Costello's house, all of the street names are like presidents or notorious history guys. And I was driving by and I saw this one. So you have Abraham Lincoln, and the cross street is Adams Street. And so it's kind of cool when you just drive around, it goes from Jefferson to Madison and all that kind of stuff. So it's
pretty
a very
cool.
Beautiful place, and just happy to be up here, and hopefully maybe we can get to see a race or two today.
I'm sure you will. We have a comment from Diego now. Good show, boys, and thanks for everybody for commenting. Don't forget to continue to comment and leave us a comment after the show right underneath here on YouTube. Yeah. And now we'll enter notable passings.
And of course, we also would love to hear you. Send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com. Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we got a couple of notable passings, and the first one, I think you and I actually had a little conversation between, because there's a lot of people confused. Billy Beane passed away. Billy Beane was the second openly gay baseball player, and he's been an advocate for Major League Baseball and the whole diversity and inclusion kind of thing. But he had a mediocre career, but played for several different teams. Played, I think, about 10 years in the league. He was 60 years old. But when a lot of people mix him up, because there was a Billy Beane who was the focus of the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt, so he was the architect for the Oakland A's, right, keeping the payroll low and yet putting a performance capable team on the field. And so that wasn't him, but this was Billy Beane. He was 60 years old.
Wow.
And Eli, one other, this is an interesting one, because Dwayne Thomas, who was a running back for the Dallas Cowboys, conceivably could have been rookie MVP of Super Bowl VI against the Miami Dolphins, but he was kind of a troubled individual, and he didn't report to camp and so forth, and bounced around. But he was 77 years old, and he had a lot of potential. It just, he got himself in a little bit of trouble. But he was a really good running back. And here's the story that I wanted to reference. So when the Giants were building the new Giant Stadium, which is now the old Giant Stadium. Dwayne Thomas, the Giants played for 2 seasons up in Connecticut in the Yale Bowl. And back then you almost had access to these. So after the game, we waited by the Washington Redskins, who was playing for at the time. And I got a chance to pat Sonny Jurgensen, Hall of Famer, on the shoulder, and Billy Kilmer and all these. And then one of them who came up was Dwayne Thomas. And Dwayne Thomas gave me his chin strap that I used to wear in Little League football. Isn't that the small world?
That's pretty amazing there.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah. And Eli, just one other passing was Susan Wojcicki, and she was the former CEO of YouTube, right? Which, we've seen the impact that YouTube has. She was battling cancer, very young, 56 years old. So, again, kind of a short week with notable passings, which we always love, right? We love.
Yes, and not much else news out there. Just did the update real quick. Not much there. No reports, nothing new. And a good week and a good show as always, Jim.
You too, Eli. And listen, you're right. Today's a big day for the Olympics, and as you reported outstandingly the whole time with the updates and where what channels hosting what event and so forth. But closing ceremonies tomorrow, and I think overall probably this will go down as a very, very successful and well-produced
Olympics. Absolutely, no question. And it gets better and better every year.
Yep. So again, please send us comments, and Eli and I are always looking for our next guest. Oh, by the way, Eli, I actually saw. Remember, we had Orta Ocal on the show.
Yeah.
He was doing some show on ESPN, and remember him telling us he's a big Star Wars guy, right?
Right.
So he was hosting a show with I think Clinton Yates and one other individual, but I'd love to have Arta back on the show because he's
he's
articulate, and again, he's a big Star Wars thing. Not sure what it was on ESPN, but it was a good job.
There's actually podcasts on Spotify and ESPN Plus and all that relate to Star Wars and sports. And there was like a big segment he had the other day was about the NHL, because they always do like Star Wars nights during the regular season. Who had the best Star Wars bobblehead and everything? So he's all part of that. So there's all kinds of podcasts you can watch out there on ESPN Plus. He's part of it, and
love to have him on the show again.
Yeah, but we'll be working on it for sure.
Okay, good. All right, Eli, you have yourself a good week, my friend. And again, excellent job. Say hi to the family. And
we hope everyone has a good week.
And we'll be back here same time next week, place. Saturday at 10 o'clock. And we look forward to you. And as always, we thank our loyal listeners from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great one, everyone.
You too, guys. Bye.